Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, an amazing Spider-Man issue number 45, Sins Rising. This is a really good comic book. It had problems, and I'm going to talk about some of the problems that I had with the comic book, but overall, this was a really amazing book, and the art, whoo! Let's talk about all that good stuff. So again, Sins Rising, Part 1. Nick Spencer on writing, Mark Bagley doing the pencils. John Dell with Andy Owens on inks and David Curiel doing the colors. VC's Joe Caramagna on letters and the Casanovas, whatever Casanovas is, on cover art. There's a variant cover out there with Bagley, Dell, and Mario Holloway. Boom, the designers Anthony Gambino and of course Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, creators of Spider-Man. So let me just talk about the art first in this book. Aside from a couple of proportions, namely with the legs, holy crap, man. The art on this is amazing. Like, the pencils are just solid. You see detail, like, out of this freaking world, right? Gave a lot for the inks to work with. And, man, they did. The shadows in here, like, you look at the seats, the way that the shadows indent perfectly, like I'm looking at the movie theater, seat, or the play seats on there. I'm just like, dude, did this guy sit there and just study seats? Like, this is so good. Everything about this, man, just freaking fantastic. And the colors, just perfect for this story. As far as the story itself, dude, so we read even if you didn't read that little interlude where it gives the history of Sin Eater that came out last week, hopefully we did 2 weeks ago see the most recent Amazing Spider-Man issue number 44, where Spider-Man is seeing all of this stuff happen, but in a dream. We're not even going to get into what happens in the second half of that dream. But in the first half, this stuff happens. And it's wild, man, because he's seeing this stuff. He is once in a while reminding us, hey, I've seen this before. Holy crap. And it gets really bad. Like the scene where the car falls on top of him, I'm like, damn, dude. For the bottom part of a 5-panel page, that was really good. And there are a bunch of action scenes in here where a huge page, a splash page is given, sometimes mostly a splash page, is given to some of the scenes in here, and it's wild. I love it. There's a back and forth fight in here, and there's a bunch of new supernatural stuff happening. I'm expecting that Sin Eater had a symbiote based on the previous issue, right? But I'm not seeing that right now. I'm seeing something else. I'm seeing that he's almost got, Johnny Blaze post Ghost Riders stuff going on with him, when he just had the Hellfire powers on him, but not the actual Ghost Rider. A gun that only hits the people it wants to hit. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this bullet that I just fired was about taking out this kind of a sin. And Spider-Man, you are not guilty of this kind of sin. But the sins that you are guilty of, that's not for me to come and eat. You have to deal with another. Damn, that was really good. But what's some of the problems that I had with the comic book? One of them is that since Sin Eater now has these new powers, we can assume he's much physically strong because he was just a regular human, And Spider-Man had to deal with the story very differently than how we're dealing with Sin Eater now. Now Sin Eater seems to be somebody who somebody as powerful as Spider-Man can actually go up against, and it's not so easy to take him down. If he's just a regular human, this would have been simple. This would have been easy. Oh, you headbutted me in the nose? Congratulations. Here's one back for your troubles, bud. No. It would have been a very different fight, but apparently Sin Eater is much, much stronger now. Okay, how come none of this was addressed? How come there wasn't a single part in here, whether a thought where he's, text narration where he says like, oh wow, he's so much stronger, what's going on? Or if he just actually said, you've never been this strong before, what's going on? What is this gun that you had? Where'd you get it? Because it's shooting this giant bright white light that can blow up a car and stuff like that, as opposed to just putting a regular slug out there. I mean, I would have addressed that. I mean, we can clearly see there's a lot of supernatural going on here, but it's like Spider-Man just doesn't even bother to address any of it. And it's weird. I know people say that we should just leave some things for the art. Well, the art shows us it's supernatural, but Carly Cooper is dealing with some stuff in here, and we slowly see her revealing who the dead body is in the morgue that she's uncovering and what happens with it. I really like that But here's another problem I have with the book. The Carly Cooper stuff was fantastic. I'm going to leave that alone. But here's another problem I have with this, and it's more of a question than an actual problem. But here we go. Sin Eater was a regular human. He was just a regular old Joe who had problems, and like I said, you had to deal with him differently. If Spider-Man just showed up all the time, hey, it would have been as simple as, punch the guy in the face, web him up, leave him for the police with a little note, from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, yada, 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 right? You had to deal with him very differently. It was a gritty crime drama, where this art would have been, wow, very, very welcome back then, but I liked the art back then also. That being said, we're all in the different times that we are, so the art is available to as the comics are coming out. Regardless, this didn't feel entirely like the crime mystery thriller. This felt more like a horror, which again wasn't addressed. And I wonder, making the Sin Eater this kind of a character, he's supernatural now. Could a different character have maybe been picked? Case in point, I know that the whole Jean DeWolf and these important stories are what I'm wondering, like, is Jean DeWolf now going to be revealed as she was actually she's actually Kindred? That would be something. But the idea that maybe Scourge or somebody along that ilk would have been better suited for this. Scourge was just, for the most part, he shows up for a panel or two in a comic book in multiple different issues all over the place, Captain America or wherever. Justice is served, and then boom, done, right? And he had that Tommy gun. A very, very, very similar story, very similar character to the Sin Eater, except the Sin Eater had a lot more depth. When you have a character with that much depth, even though it's definitely more associated with Spider-Man than Scourge is, still, it's the idea that with Scourge, if you were to change him into this sort of character that they're doing with Sin Eater right now, I feel like it would have played better, because he was always this character who just showed up and he's gone, whatever. It felt kind of supernatural, right? Who is this guy? What is this guy? But with Sin Eater, again, you had to tell a very different story that I really kind of hoped that I could see again. Instead, you just changed him, and now he's got powers. While I don't hate it, I can't say I'm completely on board with it. I'm just kind of here for the ride to see how it plays out. It's going to be interesting seeing this new version of Sin Eater, but I do have to acknowledge that there is a certain amount of laziness to it. You had a character who you had to actually think, and I'm not accusing Nick Spencer of not thinking. Believe me, no, there's no way I'm going to accuse Spencer of that. But turning a character that was very complicated into just some regular old guy with powers is like, okay, so this can now very easily turn into a slugfest, as opposed to, the mystery of where is he now? It's a regular guy with a shotgun, but now he's so much more. It's like, I don't need this so much more. I really don't. But I'm more than interested to see how this plays out. The ending is going to be interesting too. What exactly is going to happen there? Is he recruiting? Because that would be something new also. Scourge, I could see recruiting. Sin Eater, you can't. But we'll have to see where this goes. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.